Hip-hop might be a youth-centric culture, but putting together a list of the 40 best rappers over 40 years old wasn't hard at all. If you think about all best rappers of the 90s, most of them are in their 40s by now. A few notes before we get on with the list. This is not a list of the greatest rappers of all time who happen to be over 40 years, but rather of the best rappers who are still actively putting out music and staying relevant. Same goes for names like Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Slick Rick, Ice Cube, LL Cool J, and so on. These rappers all feature on our all-time list. But in terms of the best rappers over 40 doing it right now, you've got to be still active in the game. Before we get into the list, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'll really appreciate your kindness. So without any further ado, let's get into it. The godfather of the independent rap movement, E40 is still spitting Bay Area slang and hustling non-stop like it's still the late 80s. Whether it's dropping 6 albums in 2 years, the Block Brochure series between 2012 to 2013. Coming up in the rap game during the early 90s, Juicy J had a huge impact on Memphis hip-hop scene as part of the legendary 3-6 Mafia. Between 1995 and 2008, the group dropped over a dozen albums, but more importantly, their music has inspired subsequent generations of big-name rappers. The slick-talking Brooklyn MC with the timeless voice and ageless flow sounds comfortable from all angles of the hip-hop world. From dropping barred-up albums with fellow legend Jadakiss Friday on Elm Street in 2017, keeping up with younger talent like Lil Uzi Vert and Joyner Lucas, there's nothing Fabolous can't do on a track. Debuting in 2001 with Ghetto Fabolous, Fab is one of those MCs you can picture rapping forever. One of the most iconic voices in the rap game, Young Jeezy, or Jeezy as he prefers these days, has evolved to become an elder statesman full of knowledge and life experience to pass on to the up-and-coming generations, while still tapping into his trap or die energy and thug motivation philosophies. Jeezy is older and wiser these days, although he still knows how to make bangers like the back of his hand. The Atlanta rapper's latest release, Snowfall, put out with DJ Drama, made 2022 feel like 2005 all over again. Listening to the way that Cameron effortlessly spits his rhymes, you get the feeling that rapping is just one of the many things that comes naturally to the Harlem legend. Over the past decade, making music hasn't been at the forefront of Cam's life, with long stretches in between putting out albums. But when the Dipset frontman does decide to drop, hip-hop heads know what's up. Cam's 2019 sequel to his classic Purple Haze was solid, but his collaboration album with the track, You Wasn't There, released in 2022, was even better. The 9-track project, which included features from Jim Jones and Styles P. When the late Pimp C was sent off to prison on an aggravated gun assault charge in 2002, Bun B put the UGK brand on his back and went on a legendary features bodying tour that kept the Texas duo's name alive. One of the most versatile rappers in the game today, Bun B can keep it trill with 8 Ball and MJ and Slim Thug, then switch it up and create a whole album with boom bap maestro Static Selecta. Now with Pimp Gone Forever, Bun B is carrying on the mission to keep his partner's name and the UGK flag flying high. On a list of the most improved rappers of all time, Jim Jones would fare quite high. While he came into the rap game as part of the Dipset movement, Jim was seen more as the muscle of the group, the shooter, ready to take on any rival rappers trying to diss. But after establishing his solo career, the Harlem rapper has continually worked on refining his craft, and has dropped 2 great albums in recent years, produced by longtime Dipset producers The Heatmakers and The Fraud Department with Harry Fraud. Common might be more focused on acting, writing and activism these days. But don't get it twisted, the Chicago rapper is still an MC through and through. In between starring in films like The Informer and Ava, putting out his second memoir Let Love Have the Last Word, and shining a light on social issues, he still has time to drop amazing music. Along with Nas, Jay-Z, and Black Thought, Common is leading the charge on how to age gracefully in a youth-centric culture. Rick Ross has never dropped a bad album. That's a hill that I'm willing to die on. From 2006's Port of Miami and 2021's Richer Than I Ever Been, BMMG head honcho has dropped 11 solo releases, and they've all ranged from above average to classic. If you think about your favorite rapper and the couple of duds they have in their catalog, you'll realize that this is quite an accomplishment, even with his multiple business ventures, making him one of the most financially successful rappers of all time. One of the most consistent rappers in the game today, Game was already cemented as a West Coast legend off the strength of his first 3 albums. The Compton MC has continued to push forward these past 2 decades, putting out great music with stacked albums that showcase his love for the culture. Rap fans like to diss Game for his persistent name-dropping, but there are very few artists right now who would go out of their way to educate listeners on the legendary rappers of the past. Inspectah Deck's solo career never really took off as it should have. During the mid-90s, Wu-Tang were running shit with classics being dropped left, right and center from Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, and Ghostface Killah. Deck was meant to be up next, but a flood in Reese's basement destroyed hundreds of beats, many of which were meant for his solo album. As a result of that, Uncontrolled Substance was released in 1999 instead of 1995, and Deck was never able to capture that momentum of his fellow Wu rappers. One of the most unheralded West Coast rappers of all time, MC Eiht is synonymous with his hometown of Compton, California, making his name as part of the seminal hip-hop group, Compton's Most Wanted. MC Eiht went on to pursue a solo career that was just as impactful as his crew. As an old Kanye West fan, it hurts to see the rapper-producer's recent fall from grace. You could argue that The Life of Pablo, released over 6 years ago, was his last great album, and even that project sounded rushed and unfocused in spots. It's very like that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The best hip-hop album of the 2010s was the last album he was fully focused on. Since then, fashion, politics, and a variety of other things have pulled his attention away from the music. Styles P has one of the strongest work ethics in the rap game today. The Yonkers rapper has been consistently putting out music pretty much every year since he debuted in the 90s. As a group, the Locks are known for their affiliation with major labels like Bad Boy, Rough Riders, and Interscope. But as a solo artist, Styles P is part of the independent scene where he is much more suited. It's the type of environment that enables him to put out great projects like Styles David, Ghost Your Enthusiasm, and Wreckage Manor, one of the best rap albums of 2021. Speaking about the hardest working rappers in the game, you can't talk work ethic without mentioning Styles P's music brother Currensy. The New Orleans, Louisiana rapper has built an entire career out of dropping music at a relentless rate, while you would never go to Currensy for the hardest bars, best flows, or wittiest punchlines. The Jet Life boss has carved a lane out for himself, positioning himself as the best at creating smooth, lifestyle music, perfect for smoking up. The high energy, rapid fire flowing MC is just one of the many examples of why age is just a number in hip-hop. Whether it's jumping on a hit single with Chris Brown, trading bars with Kendrick Lamar, or talking coke with the Griselda crew, Busta Rhymes is a timeless figure in the rap game. The most successful independent rapper of all time, Tech Nine, and his partner, Travis O'Guin, has built a sprawling music empire in the heart of Missouri. All started out with Tech and his unique brand of hardcore verging on horrorcore music that blends mind-blowing flows and incredible technical abilities to capture an underground fanbase. After decades of grinding away, one show at a time, one fan at a time, one piece of merchandise at a time, Strange Music is now one of the top hip-hop record labels of all time. It may not feel like it, just because of how recent his come-up has been, but Westside Gunn is a 40-year-old rapper who dropped his first mixtape in 2005. However, due to legal troubles, the Buffalo businessman artist didn't release any further music between 2006 to 2011. But once he came back to the rap game, it was with the intention of taking Buffalo into the big leagues. Since his landmark 2016 debut, Fly God, West has led Griselda on an industry takeover, including big-name co-signs from Jay-Z and Eminem, major label signings, and management deals with Roc Nation. In an ideal world, if hip-hop heads around the world had gotten their way, Electronica would be 5 to 6 albums deep by now. Unfortunately, That's not how life works, and we've only been blessed with the one album so far. 2. If you count the leaked Act 2. The Patents of Nobility The Turn. None of that takes away from the fact that Electronica is, and has always been, one of the very best rappers in the game. Whenever he decides to rap, whether it's dropping loosies like Call of Duty or jumping on Kanye's Jesus Lord, it's always an event when enigmatic MC blesses us, while his partner in rhyme has gone off the grid, popping up every now and then for a devastating guest verse or to play a flute. Big Boy has been staying on his grind. The Atlian released his long-awaited debut album, Sir Lucius Left Foot, the son of Chico Dusty, back in 2010, and has been putting out new music regularly ever since, along with juggling his film and TV ambitions. While Andre has always been the more acclaimed MC of the duo, Big Boy's track record proves that he belongs right up there in the conversation.